Well, good afternoon and welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here today. I'm Tom Flagg, I'm the Vice Chancellor for Research, and we're delighted to be able to celebrate our students, faculty, and staff today. I'd like to welcome the awardees who are represented in the auditorium today. And I must say, we are excited to see everybody here actually in person for a hybrid event, which has been something we haven't done in a long time. The main goal today is to try to recognize the great work that's been done by our students, faculty, and staff over the last 18 months, which has been a remarkable period, certainly for everybody here at the university. When I officially took this role in March of 2020, it was a remarkable time. The pandemic had started, and we had a remarkable event in the pandemic and everything that came with that. I would just like to further note that we reached out to the community to recognize and identify people that had done some great work in this field. We reached out in August of this year, and we found, we were hoping, I think, for 30 to 40 different nominations to come forward. What we found is over 150 nominations that came to our group. Lori Sussel and others ran the review committee and reviewed each of these different nominations that came in. So it's been a remarkable task to sort through and try to identify the individuals which we're going to recognize today. I would like to note that of these 125 nominations, they represent students, faculty, and staff who have done remarkable work on our campus over this period of time. I stand here with the support of university research. That includes our research team of Allison Lakin, Jory Lazinski, Lori Sussel, and Amy Gannon. Together, we've been recognizing award recipients in the different categories. At this time, what I'm going to do is go into the first category, and we'll be talking about this group and what it represents, and then the people we're going to recognize today. So again, I'd like to thank all the people that have come together to make this possible today. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us as a campus to recognize our research mission and everything that's a part of that. And again, I'd like to thank the people here, the awardees. I'd like to thank the university leadership that has been present today. Several of our deans are present today. I'd like to thank them as well. And most importantly, the awardees who we're going to recognize right now. Our first category is Outstanding COVID Research Collaborations. So the Outstanding COVID Research Collaboration Award provides recognition to a team who addressed the COVID pandemic directly, showing determination and resilience when collaborating with others as the pandemic took on different forms, and was a model for others when looking at research collaboration opportunities. Today, we are recognizing two groups in this category. The first group we honor is the Colorado COVID-19 Modeling Group. Members of this group spanned across our campus, CU Denver, CU Boulder, and the CSU campus. This was a very large effort indeed. I'd like to recognize the members of the CU Anschutz team. This included Elizabeth Carlton, Debashis Ghosh, Irina Kasarkis, Talia Quandalacy, Tatiana Santos, Megan Baran, Dean Jonathan Samet from the Colorado School of Public Health, and Catherine Colburn from the School of Medicine. Led by Dean Samet, this group provided state-of-the-art modeling techniques. They used available data to stay ahead of the pandemic by modeling its trajectory and potential impact. As a result, our state leaders knew where to focus resources and when to enforce mandates. This group has proven to be an invaluable resource to all of Colorado, from the governor's office to everyday citizens. I'd like to take a quote from their nomination directly. The team routinely contributed to the public's understanding of the pandemic with 28 published state modeling reports, 25 published regional modeling reports, 3 other informative reports that review the ins and outs of contact tracing and mobility. Their work has been featured as part of the collaborative Colorado COVID series with the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. At this time, please join me in congratulating the Colorado COVID-19 Modeling Group as represented by Dean Samet. I'm afraid we're probably not going to shake hands today. Congratulations. The next group we'd like to recognize is the Immunology Initiative COVID Research Team. The members of this group include Dr. Elena Heisch, Ross Kettle, Thomas Morrison, or Tim, Vijaya Knight, Ashley Fraser-Abel, and Rosemary Roqueford. This group was nominated for researching the undetected disease burden in SARS-CoV-2 in first responders and healthcare workers. Through a tremendous collaboration, they were able to understand the SARS-CoV-2 seroprevalence in this cohort by measuring specific antibodies and developing an assay and obtaining clinical samples to validate this. Due to the success for this collaboration, they have been funded to assess seroprevalence of SARS-CoV-2 in first responders, both here in Colorado, and to analyze seroprevalence and B-cell responses in healthcare workers. The assays developed are now central to numerous projects on campus analyzing SARS-CoV-2 in a variety of patient populations, including those with HIV, Down syndrome, and inborn errors of immunity. This assay is also being used internationally. Allow me to read a quote from their nomination. Quote, "The problem they chose to tackle was understanding the undetected disease burden in SARS-CoV-2 in first responders and healthcare workers. At the time, early reports from China had raised concern that healthcare workers were particularly at high risk for infection relative to the general population. Very little was known relative to the general population and healthcare workers. At the time of their collaboration, the burden of SARS-CoV-2 in these special populations needed to be defined further. Their idea was to understand SARS-CoV-2 seroprevalence from this cohort. At this time, please join me in congratulating the Immunology Initiative COVID Research Team, represented today by Rosemary Roqueford." Thanks very much. Our next award is Extraordinary Dedication to the CU Anschutz Research Community. The Extraordinary Dedication to the CU Anschutz Research Community Award acknowledges an employee who went above and beyond to keep campus operations running smoothly by developing safety protocols, responding to questions about protocols, ensuring research operations ran smoothly, and assisting labs or clinical research areas with new guidelines to help during the pandemic. Allison McGrath, manager for the Research Safety and Industrial Hygiene Program in the Environmental Health and Safety Department, did all that and more. Since the beginning, she has been diligently working behind the scenes to ensure that research could safely access their laboratories. She worked with campus officials to develop safety protocols and guidelines and became known as the go-to person for evaluating spaces and developing unique plans for each laboratory. Reading directly from her nomination and quoting, "Allison has worked tirelessly to push our research training efforts without compromising safety. In fact, I'm willing to bet Allison worked twice her normal number of hours during the pandemic. Allison is a model employee who stepped up without hesitation when times were tough. Her dedication throughout the pandemic deserves recognition from the university." End quote, and I could not agree more. Please join me in congratulating Allison McGrath. To present our next group of awards, I'll invite Jory, our Assistant Vice Chancellor for Animal Laboratory Research, to the podium.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, everyone. It's so nice to see actual people in person, in the flesh. All right, so I get the privilege of announcing the COVID-19 Innovation Award. The COVID-19 Innovation Award provides recognition to acknowledge an employee who provided innovative solutions to keep campus operations running during the pandemic. Thomas Graney, Clinical Associate Professor and Director of Academic Technology Initiatives with the School of Dental Medicine, is our award recipient. Tom is both an engineer and a dentist who worked with others to develop a ventilator that could be used on multiple patients simultaneously. He also used 3D printing to design a custom face shield that would allow a dental provider to mount their headlamp and added space for magnifying loops. In the words of his nominator, his innovations positively benefited providers and patients. Please join me in congratulating Thomas Graney. Our next award is for outstanding core facility support. The award recognizes a core facility manager or team who has kept cores operational during the pandemic, developed innovative procedures, and assisted customers in new ways while following COVID prevention protocol guidelines. We have 3 award recipients in this category because we had so many amazing submissions. Our first awardee is Jennifer Cathcart, who is the Clinical Translational Research Center Scheduler Manager at CCTSI. Over the course of the pandemic, she single-handedly organized and controlled the rollback and restart of research participant visit scheduling for over 900 adult protocols. She developed templates, a tracking system, and procedures to follow the guidelines set in place, which kept many research cores operational and compliant during the pandemic, according to CU and UC Health procedures. She also found novel ways to accommodate COVID vaccine trials that were not being conducted in CTRC space. Her nominators praised her for being a true team player who stepped up time after time to help the clinical research enterprise in any way that she could. Please join us in congratulating Jennifer Cathcart. Our next awardee is Nicholas Bousquet. He was nominated for his critical role in keeping the Animal Behavior Corps operational during the shutdown. Nicholas is the manager in the Neurotechnology Center. When the pandemic began, he immediately implemented new procedures to make sure the ongoing experiments could continue without interruption. He developed new SOPs, performed experiments for investigators whose staff were not permitted to be on campus, and instituted an online training program with all with a positive attitude throughout. His dedication and willingness to be flexible made sure that the negative impact to the campus shutdown did not affect the animals on ongoing research studies, and also allowed studies to start back up quickly once work could resume. Please join me in congratulating Nicholas Bousquet. And our final awardee in this category is Kimberly Jordan. She is the Assistant Director of the Human Immune Monitoring Shared Resource that provides services supporting human immunology research. She was nominated for shifting HIMSR's focus to COVID-19 research, including repurposing space, personnel, and equipment. She worked tirelessly to receive and process COVID-19 clinical specimens, despite not knowing the potential danger of transmission from these samples. She set up a BSL-2 plus laboratory and established safety protocols and guidelines for her team to follow. Due to her efforts, the campus was able to utilize these samples to support the work of multiple investigators across many research studies. Those nominating her stated, "I know from personal experience that Kim never hesitated for a minute when asked to handle COVID patient samples. She simply dove right in, figured out what needed to be done, and then got the whole system up and running in a matter of days." Please join me in congratulating Kimberly Jordan. All right, to present the next group of awards, I would like to introduce Allison Lakin, Associate Vice Chancellor for Regulatory Compliance.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. And I have the privilege of presenting the Clinical Research Awards. And so for the Outstanding Clinical Research Coordination Award, it provides recognition to clinically oriented research coordinators who helped to support clinical research and excelled in support of clinical research during the pandemic. We have two awardees for this award, and the first is Haley Steinert, and she is the Clinical Research Operations Manager in the Department of Neurology. She oversaw 250 neurology clinical trials, which included critical novel drug therapies that were often the only option for treatment for patients, and so it was important that we kept those studies going. She led her team of coordinators and PRAs and methodically organized the campus research requirements to ensure that the most vulnerable patients could continue clinical trial participation with no interruption in treatment. So please join me in congratulating Haley Steinert. Okay, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I am sure I'm going to get this name wrong. The next awardee is Kamonthip June Humdai Janakul, known as June to her friends. June is a senior PRA at the Center of Global Health. She was nominated for her work in managing a multi-county study involving 20 different institutions across multiple countries on respirator and face mask decontamination methods for healthcare workers. She fully dedicated herself to the research project. She worked day and night, and at one point had over 1,000 respirators in her living room to process for research. She was the heart of this fast-moving project, and her dedication allowed it to move seamlessly. Please join me in congratulating June. The next award is the Outstanding Contribution to a Research Unit. And this award provides recognition to an employee who exemplified the CU Anschutz Medical Campus research spirit of collaboration and research discovery during the time of COVID pandemic. And this award is going to Montel Tamez, and she's the Deputy Director for Community Engagement and Research, and was nominated for building partnerships to improve diversity and inclusion in COVID-19 research, involving new treatments, vaccines, and other virus prevention practices. She encouraged participants in clinical trials and disseminated accurate information about vaccines, treatments, and the virus itself through active community engagement and outreach to people hardest hit by the pandemic. Please join me in congratulating Montel. To present the next group of awards, I'd like to introduce Amy Gannon, Associate Vice Chancellor for Regulatory That's me. For finance. No, GC.
Hi, everyone. I have the privilege of announcing the Outstanding Student Award. The Outstanding Student Award acknowledges any pre-doctoral student or postdoctoral researcher who took on new duties and skills to assist research operations and went above and beyond their assigned job duties. Kimberlyn Cook is the team lead and contact tracer team within Environmental Health and Safety's Occupational Health Division. She was nominated for her remarkable leadership skills. When the pandemic started, Kimberlyn rose to the challenge to educate symptomatic individuals and help the team stay cohesive. She was a key player in the vaccination clinic on campus. She also led the registration group, acquired EPIC training, and organized the supplies and training materials for teammates. Please join me in congratulating Kimberlyn Cook. Next, I would like to introduce Lori Cecil, Associate Vice Chancellor for Basic Sciences.
Hello, everybody. I get the privilege to announce the Outstanding Basic Research PRA and Senior PRA Awards, and this is for an award for PRAs or senior PRAs who took on new duties or learned new skills to assist in the lab and worked on site to keep everything going in the labs with animal research, experiments, and really went above and beyond their assigned duties. And we actually have 3 recipients for this category because we had so many nominations. And I'd like to say it's really nice to see how much PRAs are appreciated because they really are our workforce here. So the first one in this category is Keith Smith. He is a senior PRA for the Linda Cernick Institute for Down Syndrome. When the pandemic started, the Institute pivoted their focus to support the implementation of the COVID-19 Biobank. And with Keith's knowledge and assistance, they were able to employ cross-sectional multiomics analysis to define biosignatures and seroconversion and understand the variations in the pathophysiological state of hospitalized COVID-19 patients. This led to novel discoveries that benefit healthcare in the US and will improve overall outcomes of COVID-19 patients. He also created the COVIDome Explorer, I hope he made up the name too, and the online research portal that enables rapid data sharing, hypothesis testing, and discoveries worldwide. Please join me in congratulating Keith. The second person in this category is Crystal Minjarez, and she is a PRA in the Neural Injury Program in the Quillinan Lab. She was nominated for volunteering to be a designated critical staff member and taking on additional responsibilities of other employees when they left the university. Crystal came in every day to complete ongoing experiments, maintain the mouse colony, stayed on top of all the lab ordering, optimized new surgical model, performed neurobehavioral experiments for collaborative projects, and trained collaborators on microsurgical techniques in the vivarium. So she really did a great job supporting her whole research community. So please join me in congratulating Crystal. And finally, the last in this category is Kelsey Barner. She's a PRA for the Janssen Powell Lab in the Division of Reproductive Sciences. After receiving approval to continue critical animal experiments during COVID restrictions, Kelsey volunteered to take full responsibility for maintaining the mouse colonies. Since she works with pregnant animals, that required routine mating checks, performing experiments on specific days of gestation, and monitoring deliveries. She also took on extra on-site duties to assist technical staff who were not allowed back on the campus yet. She also reconfigured the space to make sure it was safe and to remain compliant. So congratulations, Kelsey. Okay, and so one of the last categories we have is for the Outstanding Administrative Professional. This award provides recognition to anyone working in an administrative capacity in support of research efforts who took on new duties or skills to enable ongoing research activities, worked on site to keep operations running smoothly, and went above and beyond their assigned job duties. We actually had two award recipients in this category. The first is Catherine Kuhn, who is a PRA in the Santoro Lab in the Division of Reproductive Sciences. Catherine took immediate action to make sure the third floor of RC2 was compliant. She became the local authority on all the current policies and procedures, and she came up with low-risk methodology to recruit and screen participants to minimize the risk of COVID infection without compromising the quality of the generated data. So Catherine, congratulations. And last but not least, I'm very actually pleased to be able to acknowledge Christy Vasey, who is an administrative assistant in the Barbara Davis Center Executive Suite. I had to abstain from this category, but Christy had really stepped up during the pandemic. She basically took charge of implementing a health screening program, which was instrumental in keeping the building open for patients and staff. She developed a screening protocol that was separate from the university. She recruited and scheduled and trained staff and trainees. And I know for a fact she even started coming in at 5:30 a.m. in the morning to make sure everything was going to operate smoothly, stepping in for people who couldn't show up. She kept on top of things by monitoring quality control and successfully communicating changes, which we know happened almost daily, between the clinical and research endeavors. And she became the point person for compliance and the facility and custodial needs of the Barbara Davis Center. Amazingly, I think we have 4 floors at the Barbara Davis Center, and Christy knows every single person's name who works in the center. So join me in congratulating Christy Vasey. Okay, but before I let Tom come up, we have one more award that he doesn't know about. I think Tom took this position, as he said, in March 2020. I don't think when he took the position of Vice Chancellor that he thought he'd be running the campus operations during a pandemic. And we just wanted to acknowledge him. We gave him a Fearless Leader Award. He could have sat in his office and made decisions, but he really brought the whole campus together on our COVID calls. That's actually when I got to know him weekly. We all got together, asked him questions, berated him, asked why things were changing again, and he took it very calmly and smoothly. And I think one thing that really resonated with me is he kept saying, we have to keep the research going. We'll be safe, but we have to keep the research going. And so I think we all really appreciate that. So thank you, Tom. We have a... And I should say, this was all his idea, this award ceremony. So thank you, Tom.
Well, that is very kind of you. Just allow me to make a couple of closing comments. It's really nice just to be together. Again, we haven't done many, obviously, I think I had a few cops at the beginning of this thing. We haven't been together a big group for a long time. You may want to revoke this award after my performance today, but it's really great. I think just to say a bit about this, it's felt like a great opportunity personally to be able to serve the campus over the last 18 months. It's been a remarkable endeavor to watch so many people adapt and come together in ways that we never would have imagined we would have had to have done just a couple years ago. This event was something we came up with, I would say maybe this summertime. We were thinking about all the tremendous work. We thought about those people that were actually impacting COVID, the first 2 awards we gave out. We thought about all the people on campus that had really frankly supported us. We could do the things that we had to do and stepped up and went out of their lane to help and so forth. So I must say, it's really great to be able to come together as a community, to focus on our research mission and be able to acknowledge the representatives here of our great research community. So thank you all for coming in that regard. We mentioned the COVID officials towards the end here. I'd just like to say a word about that. There's a lot of COVID officials. We have them in the laboratory sciences, the clinical research area, and community research. These are people I mostly cold called with a little bit of help from some of my friends here as well and said, will you come together as an advisory committee to help us get through this thing? We need to have more voices. And I think everybody, maybe one said, I'm too busy. Everybody else said, I'm too busy, but I'll do it. And that's the backbone of the whole thing we've done in the research community over the last 18 months. There's been many people that have been important in putting this program together. Lori Sussel, frankly, played, I think, a key role. Everybody else in our leadership. I think Natasha in the back has done an awful lot. The review committee, I think I said, hey, would you review about 30 or 40 of these applications we're going to get? And instead we had over 125. Michelle Porter is somewhere out there. Michelle has been truly the heart and soul of this. Let's give Michelle a round of applause. Thank you, Michelle. Lastly, I think there's some housekeeping items. We'd ask the awardees to maybe stay around for just a minute. We have to take some more pictures and so forth. I'd like to thank everybody that took time on their busy day to recognize our community. And I'd like to give one last round of applause to our awardees today. Thanks for all that you do.